Hello, you guys. Happy last day of February. Hopefully my sound is on. If y'all here, let me know if you can hear me. Let me know if you can hear me, guys. I still can't believe we are at the end of February. I feel like it was just the new year. And we are almost 2 months out now. That's crazy. Hey, y'all, come on in. Let me know you're here. Let me know you're here. Say hello. Say something. If you're catching the replay, y'all know what to do. Hashtag replay. Hey, yeah, I tried to start this live outside because it's so nice. But I was reminded that that's just not my ministry. Something flew across my face. And I said, let me get back in this house. Oh, but we're going to have to, try that again after the live because I didn't want to embarrass myself like that if something crawled on me or jumped on me while I was outside. But hey, y'all, happy last day of February. If this is your first time joining, my name is Elise. I am the founder of Parenting for the Culture, and you are officially in Growing in Gentleness, a weekly conversation for the gentle and the not so gentle parent or caregiver. So as you may or may not know, this month we have been looking at a different African proverb each week and just kind of seeing what wisdom we can pull from it and apply to our parenting. Again, it is hard to believe February is over after today. This month, these first 2 months, to be honest, have really flown by. But I hope you guys have enjoyed this special February series. If you did not catch the previous weeks, go back and enjoy them and see if it's something you can take from them. I see y'all in here. I see the numbers, but y'all still ain't saying nothing. Say hey if you're here. All right, so we are going to jump in to this week's proverb, and also I have a special reminder for you guys at the end. Okay, so don't let me forget. If you're still here when I get to the end, remind me, hey, you say you have something to remind us of, and I will do just that. All right, so this week's proverb is: the axe forgets, the tree remembers. The axe forget, the tree remembers. Oh, I just lost my. There we go. All right. So, this is kind of, I say that every week. I feel like I say it's kind of self-explanatory, but maybe not, right? But I think we can learn a couple of things from this proverb. All right. And I think the first one is super obvious when it comes to this understanding that a person who hurts another person often forgets, but the person who is hurt remembers, right? We get that. We get that. We have experienced that. We have been there because I'm pretty sure that at some point we all have been an axe, right? And at some point we all have also been the tree in the sense of the one being hurt. I know even me personally, I can remember back to, things in grade school, that things that we don't forget, things we may not no longer believe, but we still remember. So this is not just, a parent as an axe. This could be a friend, a cousin, a classmate as the axe, the one who is doing the hurting. But again, we all have been the axe. We all have been the tree. And so that's the first thing we can pull from this proverb, just remembering that when we do things, whether intentionally or unintentionally, when that hurt happens, we may move on and forget, but the person who is experiencing the hurt, they remember. That stays with them, right? And I also, in this, I don't want to say remix, but I guess I kind of did. Just sometimes when I see things, I just see it differently. So I also saw this proverb in another way. And I see the axe also as having the ability to not just cut down, but to dig out. And so when I read this, it really made me wonder, like, are there different types of axes? And you may already know this, but it was new to me. So I had to, get on Google and literally ask, are there different types of axe? And so I learned that there's a thing called a pickaxe. Again, seen it before, didn't know it was a kind of axe. But the pickaxe are the ones that usually are used by miners, right? So people who dig out natural resources out of the earth. And it really made me want to kind of remix this proverb. Yeah, I ain't really tried to mess with the proverbs or do anything or say anything different about them. But this one really had me thinking because, again, we know when we hurt people, that sticks with them. We all know that, again, from experience. But when I learned about the pickaxe, and again, this is the axe that miners use to get those natural resources out of the earth, it really made me kind of look at this differently. So, like the pickaxe, I want us to also remember that as the parent, as the caregiver, as the guardian, as the village, as the youth minister, whatever your role is, we have the ability to expose resources. We have the ability to dig out and pick out gems within our kids that they also can remember and recall years later. Okay. And so this is so powerful, especially as we talk about the wisdom of our past and as we wrap up Black History Month, because so much, so much of what we do in our parenting is rooted in our history. And I want to kind of go on a tangent. It's really not a tangent, it's really connected. But y'all stay with me for a second because let me move this for a minute so y'all can I want y'all to hear me for real on this part. All right. So, thinking about that proverb, right? That the axe forgets, the tree remembers. But we're looking at this in a different way when we think about that pickaxe, the one that is able to pick out those resources and those gems and those diamonds. I want us just to consider something. All right. Do you guys realize that as Black people, we have legally been parenting our own kids for not even 160 years? This actually was a post I made. I can't remember if it was a year ago or 2 years ago, but it came up in my memories recently. And I was just blown away all over again. Again, do you guys realize that as Black people, we have legally been parenting our own kids for not even 160 years? Yeah, that is two 80-year-olds. That's two 80-year-olds. And if we factor Jim Crow into that, that is less than 100 years. Just think about that for a second. That is less than 100 years if we factor in Jim Crow. So of course, how can we not consider the residue of slavery that still shows up in our parenting? And some of that residue is the reason that the axe unconsciously cuts down the tree sometimes. And you may be familiar with this scenario, but I think it's so perfect, so I wanted to share it. There is a book by Dr. Joy, and it's called Post Traumatic Slave Syndrome. Such a good read. Check it out if you have never heard of it or never dug into it. But it's called Post Traumatic Slave Syndrome. And in that book, she gives a scenario that really paints a really good picture of how we see the residue of slavery showing up in our parenting, right? And so she talks about if you have like a Black mom and a white mom sitting down having a conversation, let's imagine their kids are with them also. And so they're having this conversation, and the Black mom compliments the white mom on her son. He's excelling. He did great on the science fair, also behaviorally, academically, like he's just doing the thing. And so she compliments him, and the white mom responds, "Thank you," right? Makes sense. You give a compliment, you say thank you. And so she received that compliment, thanked the mom for what she noticed about her son. That was that. On the flip side of that, when the white mom complimented the Black mom and how her son is also just as exceptional, right? Doing amazing things. She wasn't trying to butter up or be flattering. It was true. He's excelling academically, socially, behaviorally, all the things he's doing great. But when she complimented that Black mom, what do you guys think the response was? Feel free to drop it in the chat. When she complimented that Black mom, and if we pause and think about that, we actually know exactly what the response was. Because many times, if we just pay attention, you guys, many times in our culture, when someone compliments our kids, how do we normally respond? Sometimes, it's a thank you, but many times, more times than not, it's usually a, "Ooh, wait, girl, he is something else. Oh, girl, she is something else. Just stay around a little longer. You will see how she," like we automatically, right? Instead of just embracing it and saying thank you, instead of just, sitting in that moment of the compliment, of the praise, we usually say something not as positive about our child. We again that we usually hit them with that, ooh wee, they something else. Just stick around a little longer. You will see they just acting like this because you around. We do that. But why do we do that? The residue of slavery. And so when we think about when we take that image instead of that those two moms sitting there, let's take that back a few years to slavery. And that black mom, and instead of the white mom, it's the overseer or the slave master. And when he comes and compliments the child, the mom or the parent's response is, oh no, he doesn't listen well, he doesn't do this well, he doesn't do this. But why? Not because she necessarily believed those things, but that is a adaptative, that's an adaptive behavior. That is a survival behavior. That is a protective behavior, because let me say these things so my child doesn't what? Be sold into slavery, right? To be sold into another master. And so we have to really begin to pause and ask the question. And this, you guys, this is what it actively looks like to break generational curses, to interrupt generational patterns, to interrupt generational cycles. When we really pause and begin to question, why do we do the things we do? And so when we in those moments, and I've done it, right? In the sense of, especially early on in parenting, when people compliment, it's like, why do we get that urge to say something negative? And that is why the residue of slavery, right? And when we talk about that, that's something that can be known as epigenetics, which doesn't change our DNA, but it does kind of like put a coat or layer over our DNA, and that is literally passed down from generation to generation. And so, if you are a part of the culture, if I were to ask you now, when that mom goes down that list of saying all these things about her son, is she proud of him? We all know 100%. Yes, absolutely, she's proud. Culturally, we know that is one proud mama. That's kind of like a secret, in our culture. But everyone who's a part of the culture knows that although she's saying, girl, he's something else and he did this, even though she's saying those things, she is actually a really proud parent. Again, it's kind of like a secret within our culture. But the thing about that, by the time, so again, remember I told you the kids are right there listening. So he's hearing these things, and that black son is wondering, why can't she be proud of me? Right? So by the time he's let in on the secret, the damage has already been done. The tree remembers, right? And so I want us to just keep that in mind, because when we talk about how the axe forget, but the tree remember, the things we say are powerful. And so instead of being the more destructive, I don't know the exact name of the axe, but instead of being the more destructive axe, we literally have the possibility and the opportunity to be the pickaxe, which again is intentional about pointing out those resources and those gems our children possess, instead of giving in into that cycle and that habit of pointing out the deficits, because again, the tree will remember those cuts. All right. And so I just wanted to leave us with that. And I want to encourage us to be intentional again about interrupting that pattern, that almost feel like that innate desire to go against a compliment. Yeah. If you never paid attention to it, I promise you, you're going to notice it now. Pay attention to that when it comes up and resist it. By one, accepting a compliment, by saying thank you, by adding on to the compliment. That's why, listen, I am unapologetic about praising my kids. Why? Because I refuse to give into that deep generational cycle that again is the residue of slavery. And so I just want to encourage us to do that. I also want to encourage us to be intentional about letting our kids overhear us having conversations about them. Let us be intentional about letting them overhear us praising them. And I say overhear because we actually know that to be honest, for adults and kids, we are more likely to believe something if we overhear it versus it being told directly to us. And so it actually makes our praise 5 times more effective. So I want us to just practice that. Even with my kids, they're younger. Sometimes I just talk to stuffed animals to let them overhear. Or me and their dad will be intentional about, okay, we see them over there. Let's have this conversation about them right here so they can hear us. So again, letting our kids overhear us praising them. Okay, that's again a way to be that pickaxe to dig out those gems and those resources. So that is my challenge to you for this week, as we close out this month, but hopefully don't close out this challenge, to just be intentional about letting our kids overhear us praising them, overhear us celebrating them, and when they are complimented, to accept that compliment, to add on to that compliment of, again, some of the amazing things they are doing, as we reject that generational cycle that unintentionally cuts down the tree, because again, the axe forgets, but the tree remembers. All right. So I told you guys we are in and out with these February Proverbs. That's all I have for that. If you are in on that challenge, let me know. Just simply say I'm in. If you are in on that challenge when it comes to, again, embracing the compliments and also being intentional about letting them overhear the praise. All right. So again, if you're in on that, let me know that you are in. All right, so that is all I have when it comes to again. I can't believe it's the last February, the last day of the month of February. But that is the end of our February series. Again, I hope you guys have enjoyed it. I also wanted to make sure I told you guys. I remembered. Did nobody have to remind me? I want to make sure I told you guys about this. So please, please, please be sure to tune in tonight. Shout out to Allison Thompson. If you guys did not know, this week is a very, very special week. So she is doing a virtual summit for Black Book Children's Week. And her virtual summit is called There's a Black Children's Book for That. And so tonight I'll be hanging out with Allison as we talk about books around raising emotionally intelligent kids. I'm going to drop that link in the chat. And y'all be sure to go to Black Children Books Week website as well, and their Facebook page. Just see how different ways you can get involved with this amazing week. So y'all join us if you can. I dropped that link in the chat so you can like and follow Green Line Creative. They are here doing amazing work when it comes to literacy and all things, to be honest. So y'all check out Allison. Join us tonight for the virtual summit. Details are on her page, and I hope to see you there. All right, you guys, until next time, keep growing in gentleness. Y'all have a good one.